I was 362 pounds. I had chronic obstructed sleep apnea. I lost over 150 pounds at 17 years old. I got off of my CPAP machine for at night. All of those issues and concerns that I was facing initially while eating the standard American diet under the dietitian's supervision, all of those things went away when I turned to carnivore. No doctors, no medication, just simply eating healthy and promoting your own life. Humans are designed to eat meat, and this is optimal, right? Because there's the difference between optimal and tolerable, right?
Hello and welcome, Carrie here from Healing Humanity, the power of a proper human diet. And today I'm thankful, grateful, blessed to welcome back Garrett Allen to the channel. Garrett, how's it going?
I'm good, Carrie. How are you doing? Good to
I'm
see you
doing
again.
doing wonderful. It's nice to see you again. We did a video together a while ago. I'll have a link in the description below. You're impressive. Like, you know your stuff. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed doing that video, especially just from the feedback and the comments I got afterwards. People
I
wanted to
was
hear
blown
more.
away by the support. So thank you to you and your fan base because it was very nice. I read every single one of those comments
Yeah, the
on that
carnivore
video.
community is amazing.
Yeah.
But you knocked it out of the park with that video, and we were just chatting before the call. I'm really looking forward to digging into this one a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you could, Garrett, maybe could you tell us, just people can go watch the entire video to hear Garrett's full story, but sort of the abbreviated version of your story.
Yeah, so I came to carnivore a couple years ago. It started through keto, but when I was 15 years old, I was 362 pounds. I had chronic obstructed sleep apnea. I had horrible joint pain. I couldn't work more than 4 hours at a time at Walmart without having to go duck into the bathroom and sit because my legs were aching or my ankles were sore. Um, I had to do an ultrasound on my kidneys at 15, 16 years old because there was talk about me needing a stent in them because of my blood pressure. And I had gone to a dietitian and they had recommended me all this food that did nothing but drive my insulin up, drive my glucose up. It didn't make me feel full and it didn't get the root cause of it. And they were just reading off of a piece of paper, telling me what to do. I was pre diabetic and I had all of these health issues that I just didn't know what to do with. And whenever I'm going into these doctors, they're weighing me, they're looking at my numbers, they're looking at all my blood work. And in the face of all of this, they're worried about my cholesterol and they're just telling me that I need to avoid eating meat. And that didn't leave me with much because I don't really know what that means, what that entails. All they told me to do was stop doing one thing, but they didn't direct me in a way that genuinely solved the issue, which was chronic uh, what's the word, metabolic illness going on. I had a lot of that and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't understand what the mechanism of insulin or how the body even functioned. No doctor ever explained that to me. I would go in, it would take me 30 minutes to drive to the hospital or to the doctor. I'd sit in the waiting room for about 15 minutes and then I'd be seen by the doctor for about 45 seconds and that was it.
Yeah. And then, so how did you find carnivore?
I found carnivore because one day I woke up and I just genuinely, in a genuine way, I hated myself. I did not like who I was. I didn't like all these health issues that I was having, and I had just gone on YouTube and I said, okay, I need to. I'd been trying this diet that the dietitian was recommending to me for a long time, and nothing was working. And so I was desperate, and I Googled. I went on YouTube and I looked at how to lose weight fast, and I came across the famous Dr. Ken Berry and saw his videos on keto, and so I actually started with the keto diet and I did that for about 8 months to a little under a year. And then after that, I realized, I had seen so much success with that. And then I had started hearing about this carnivore, which is essentially just, you know, hyper keto, if you want to call it that. And it's the same principle, but I realized, okay, let's give this a shot. I had been facing some issues with keto, and keto works amazing for some people, but for me, I was still having a lot of issues, and it's because the keto diet does allow for some things to get into the diet that aren't optimal. And I was one of those people where on keto, if I had to be under 25, 50 carbs, it was, it didn't matter how I got it, I was going to get those carbs in my system. And so I decided to go full carnivore, and I never looked back. So that's how I found it, was through keto.
And what sort of things reversed for you on carnivore? Quick interruption. Beast Mode Soap sent me this soap, 100% beef tallow, free to try. This is certified grass-fed tallow, never vegan, made in the USA, natural essential oils. We got forest ash, paleo pine. We're in the pine forest. The forest ash is my favorite. I've been using it for a while now. They sent this to me for free, but I liked it so much I agreed to do a paid partnership with them because I believe people need to know what they're putting on their body. And the soap that I had at home is full of chemicals, detergents. Seriously, after I use this soap, my skin feels so soft and so incredible. What you put on your skin ends up in your bloodstream. And I only want to put good things in my body and on my body. And this, there couldn't be much better. This is 100% beef tallow. Learn more at beastmodesoap.com.
All types of things. I lost over 150 pounds at 17 years old. I got off of my CPAP machine for at night because I did a sleep study and they found that I stopped breathing 33 times in 1 hour. And this was happening over the course of an 8 hour night. So you can only imagine the stress that that was putting on my organs and my body. And I no longer had all this joint pain. I no longer felt like an old man. And most importantly, I reversed. I was thankfully not considered type 2 diabetic, but I was pre diabetic. And all of those issues and concerns that I was facing initially while eating the standard American diet under the dietitian's supervision, all of those things went away when I turned to carnivore.
That's incredible. Were you
Yeah.
were you like shocked, like doing carnivore for a little while? Like this is working. I feel different now. Something's not the same.
It so at first it was actually pretty hard. Like that's why I don't it's kind of a side note, but I don't recommend if you're going to do carnivore, you need to do it for at least 3 months. If you do it for a week or you do it for even a month, half of that time is just spent your body getting used to it. So you're going to feel I felt really sluggish, I felt tired, I had some brain fog going on. It wasn't a lot, but as I'm learning and trying to figure out what's I'm going through, it's often called like the keto flu, and it's just your body transitioning. It's just a huge change down to the cellular level in your body. You're going from eating all these processed, ultra processed, refined carbohydrates and sugars and inflammatory seed oils and all of these things that are not good, not optimal for any living being. You're going from that to eating just pure nutrient dense real food, and the body's not used to it. And so it was hard for me for maybe the first 2 weeks, and then I it's like I got over that wall, and I kept going, and I kept feeling better every day and every day, and it's been like that. And I haven't had a single day where it's regressed or it's gotten worse. It's only been getting better.
And how long has it been now that you've been doing carnivore?
It's been let's see, it's been probably close to a little over 2 years now,
Wow.
or right around 2 year mark. We'll say that it's kind of a blur when I started, but I know it's been at least a year and a half, probably more.
And has this kind of changed your, I guess, trajectory in your life? Like you're doing a lot of research, you're going down a lot of rabbit holes now. How did that come about?
Absolutely, it kind of got a hold of me and has not let go, and I think that's for the better. I was a welder before this. I wasn't planning on going into the medical industry or being involved in this way, but once I discovered firsthand the power of simply just eating real food, I just was absolutely blown away, and I said, why is everybody not doing this? Why are we just sitting around going to the doctors for these medications? Why are we doing all these things that we're doing instead of just eating all of this real food that would naturally give us that energy that would naturally fuel our bodies? And so it was just such a surprise to me because um, I, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. What was I talking about?
You were saying you were surprised. I asked if this changed the trajectory of your life. You said you were surprised how not everybody's doing this, not everyone's eating this way.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll restart that. Sorry, that's my
No
fault.
worries.
Um, But yeah, no, it totally changed my life. I was a welder before going into the medical industry. Now I'm enrolled in college and I'm going for my BSN. going to be a registered nurse. That's the end goal, and I want to help people. I want to be a doctor, or not a doctor, but I want to be a medical professional in that field that's directly in a position to where I can set people up for success. I don't want to be the doctor that I had, where I was just reading off of a paper. I was just another patient in their room. I wasn't anything important. It didn't matter what I did really. I want to be somebody who can just simply just help people. I want to guide people in the right direction. And that is empowering you to do something like eating properly in your own home, no doctors, no medication, just simply eating healthy and promoting your own life. And I want to be that for people because I didn't have that. And I think that set me back a lot. And so getting out of it and then looking back at it, I go, okay, yeah, I needed somebody who cared that much about me because I was clueless. That there was no better way to explain it. I was arrogant toward the subject. I didn't know anything independently. I had just always listened to what the doctors told me. And I think, we naturally want to believe that the doctors have our best intention, um, on the front of their minds, but it's not how it is. And I think a lot of people can attest to that as well, not just me. But that was what kind of did it for me. Was once I discovered the glory of simply eating a carnivore diet, I went, wow, the world needs to hear about this, and they need to know what it did for me. So
I love it. Yeah, man, when you find that kind of healing for yourself, you want the rest of the world to experience it. Especially when you look around in the world, it's just so many people are needlessly sick and suffering. And for the most part, not because they're choosing to be sick and suffering, they're just oblivious. They don't have this as a tool in
yeah,
their toolbox. So,
exactly.
part of your studies, like you've gone down some rabbit holes and done some research. Is part of
Absolutely.
is part of that you going to school for nursing, or also just your own passion for this, or a little bit of both?
So it's definitely both. It started actually just as me doing it on my own, and then I went, wow, I want to do this all the time. And I think it'd be cool even one day, depending on where it goes, to set up my own studies and to be able to really get into the weeds of this because I see these studies and I see how they're analyzed and I see, great professional doctors on both sides of it. And just as an example, like I watched, there was one interview, it was a debate rather between Paul Saladino and cardiologist Mohammed Allo. And in the whole video is just them going back and forth on these articles. And um, I think that Paul Saldino has a very good approach to it, and he's asking all these questions that I think we need to be asking, and naturally that leads you to want to understand more. And so I just kept doing that. I kept doing that, and I kept reading these articles, and I went, man, there's so much info here that I need to know. I can't not know this. And so then that led me to, okay, well, I want to do something involved in this field, and that led me to where I am now, which is um, going for my BSN at college. And it was totally out of the blue. I was not a college person. I didn't do well in high school, and I joined a trade right out of high school, and so I left all of that to do this because it's just that important to me. And I would hate to waste this lifetime not doing something like that because I think everybody needs to hear this. Once again, that's just not an option to you know uh, pass up. I want people to know that there is hope and that there's something you can do right now, and it starts with what you put in your mouth.
I love it. All right, so for those watching, we're gonna have a couple parts, part one, part two, part three. So be sure to subscribe and check those. But I think for this first part, Garrett, it'd be great if we talk about what you just mentioned a little bit, the studies. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people are confused. I was like, I used to hear these studies on the news all the time,
Hmm.
and in my brain, I'm like, science, like that is there for my benefit. I got to listen to
Yeah.
that. And but then I started getting confused later because I'm like, well, this study says eggs are going to kill me, and this study says
Yeah.
eggs are going to help me, and they're
Yeah.
contradicting each other, and it's like all over the place. So, can we talk a little bit about studies and why they're flawed and not necessarily there for our benefits?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it starts with I think we've all heard the, oh, if you eat meat, eat eggs, eat anything that's got any amount of cholesterol in it, right? Or red meat specifically. I know that kind of gets villainized, but I went, okay, I want to know why they think LDL is this just killer that it is that they're claiming it to be. And so then I started going into these studies, and I'm finding in these studies that there's a resounding amount of information that says otherwise. And so I kind of was just like, okay, well, let's just see where it goes. And I'm finding in a lot of these studies that it doesn't have to do with your total cholesterol, because that doesn't do anything. There's not enough there to determine your risk for cardiovascular disease just by saying, hey, your total cholesterol is high, we need to lower it. So I'm looking more in these studies and I'm starting to kind of nitpick them. And just one, for example, is just like I was mentioning earlier, just with particle size. Almost every single diabetic or somebody who is insulin resistant, who has a cardiovascular episode, they have what's called optimal LDL levels. And in a study, it says that most common LDL cholesterol levels in diabetics and people who are insulin resistant is considered normal. And so these people are still suffering from cardiac events. And I go, okay, well, there has to be something else there that, logically that would follow. And in this one study, it says that a large number of small, dense particles characterize the LDL fraction in diabetic individuals. Now, the small, dense LDL particle studies show that it contains less cholesterol than normal sized LDL, but they're exceptionally atherogenic. And this is why LDL levels range. And this is why in the study, it calls it deceptive, because you can have what's ideal cholesterol and you can be insulin resistant. You don't have to be obese to be insulin resistant. That's another common misconception, I think. If there's any inflammation, if there's any issue going on in your body, which there most likely is, because everybody in the US, there's studies showing that over 80% of the US is metabolically ill. That's a problem. If you have metabolic illness, if you have metabolic syndrome, it's called, this puts you at high risk for a large amount of this small, dense LDL, which is exceptionally atherogenic. And so that blew my mind, because I'm thinking, okay, now there's different particle sizes of LDL. I bet 90% of people don't even know that. You say, "Oh, your cholesterol's high." You go, "Okay, what do you mean by that?" And they say, "Well, the bad cholesterol." And it's, "Well, what's the bad cholesterol?" Most people don't even know what LDL stands for. And so it's just, again, it's kind of just this echo chamber of, okay, we're being told that LDL is bad. Nobody's questioning it. It's just we're following it. And I drew up this analogy in my head because they find that LDL is present when they're finding these fatty streaks, or they see that the cholesterol is building up in these people's arteries. I think of it like this. I loved Transformers when I was a kid, one of my favorite movies. And I think of it this way. You've got Megatron fighting Optimus Prime. Okay, Megatron is metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance. He's all of these health issues. And you have Optimus Prime, who is, we'll call him LDL, we'll call him cholesterol. And Optimus Prime is going to fight Megatron in the city, and he's going to do everything he can to get rid of him. And at the end of the fight, Megatron, he gets ripped apart, he gets hurt, he gets damaged, he runs away, right? But then they turn around and the whole city has just been destroyed. Now, absolutely, Optimus Prime played a part in that, but he only had to do that so he could get rid of the bad guy.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of how cholesterol is it's absolutely, it's doing damage. If you have insulin resistance, if you're metabolically unwell, if you have any kind of inflammation going on, which 90% of people in the US do, according to studies, LDL is absolutely a concern. And it's because it's trying to fight and it's trying to heal and it's getting wrapped up in this. It's, when you're getting pushed down in a pool and you're too far gone. So now at that point, it's okay, I'm just taking you down with me. And that's kind of that's the analogy I drew up in my head that helps me make sense of it. Um, but there's a lot of studies showing that it actually has to do with particle size, and that it's not actually a matter of just total LDL, because you don't know anything. There's nothing you can do with just a total solid number. And so that's the whole I've been following, and I have a lot more studies to show that. But yeah, I think that's worth talking about, because even in people with lower LDL levels, okay, there's studies showing that people with low LDL levels and high LDL levels, they still have cardiovascular disease going on. And so that automatically rules out that LDL alone is causing it. Because in this study, it shows it's got this kind of U shaped bell, and it's got people with low LDL who have extremely high risk or have had events of cardiovascular disease. And you have people with high LDL. Now, put LDL aside, what else are these studies considering? Well, they're considering metabolic health. They're considering all of these other things that are driving, and I think are much more concerning and much more of a dire situation that needs to be addressed than just simply LDL. And so that's just my whole thing. That's kind of where I'm still at right now. Is I think there's a lot more to it than just LDL, and I think it's arrogant nonetheless to just pin it on simply LDL alone and not consider all of these other things, right?
Right.
Especially because studies show that lower LDL, it doesn't mean that your risk of cardiovascular disease goes away at all.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's such an important topic too because I hear it over and over again. I'm on so many Facebook groups for carnivores and things like that. And oh, I
Yeah.
just got my cholesterol tested. I'm freaking out right now because of these numbers. The
Hmm.
doctors are freaking out. Put me on a statin. What you described there is something that I was completely clueless to. I had no
Yeah.
idea before doing carnivore. I later learned some of what you're talking about from Dr. Philip Ovadia, heart surgeon that's performed
Hmm.
thousands of heart surgeries. And I remember him saying, like, it isn't the quantity of your cholesterol that you should be worried about, it's the quality. And just that statement
Yes.
alone, if you just hear that statement, it's like, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
quality makes sense.
Yeah. It's logical. I can get behind that.
And then I started learning too, there's actually a lot of other markers that are somewhat meaningless, but even more indicative of having heart disease than even LDL is, and we completely ignore those. It's so crazy,
Yeah.
Garrett. It's like this social programming, social norm, or so everyone has it in their head, like cholesterol, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna
Yeah.
die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. And there's like the triglycerides you can look at, the particle size you can look at. So uh, some of the things that I've learned, I'm interested to hear if you have any, but for someone watching this and they're concerned,
Hmm.
they just got their cholesterol tested, the numbers are too high. What are some other things that they should be looking at?
Yeah, so there's another study that I have that was done, and it's called "The Effects of Fat Consumption on LDL Particle Size in Healthy Individuals." And so, if you like I was, if you have high LDL, if you have that, there's also probably other markers within your blood panel that are also needing attention, right? But we look to LDL. Why? And it's because that's what they mention. This article, I'll just read this. I'm quoting the article. None of this is my own words, but it says consumption of saturated fats has been demonstrated to increase large buoyant LDL particles, which may explain in part for the differing outcomes regarding fat consumption on cardiovascular disease. That's why it's kind of, low LDL, still cardiovascular disease, high LDL, still cardiovascular disease. It says altering the diet composition of fat and carbohydrate. For example, low fat diets and high carbohydrate diets will absolutely lower your LDL-C, but it says in return for that, you are going to raise your triglyceride levels, okay, which are not good because if you if you raise your triglyceride levels, this is indicative of there's studies showing that this is a better marker to look at. If you have high triglyceride levels, that is putting you at risk for cardiovascular disease. It also shows that high carbohydrate consumption leads to lowered HDL, which everybody, I'd say, unanimously knows as the good guy or the good cholesterol. And so, yeah, absolutely. If you want to lower your LDL, stop eating meat and go ahead and eat a high carb diet. But in turn, you're going to have lower HDL and you're going to have higher triglycerides. And there's a lot of doctors showing that if you have a high triglycerides to low HDL ratio, that puts you at a much more risk for cardiovascular disease than it does simply just having elevated LDL. And there's other studies showing that people with lower LDL have a higher risk of getting infection, have a higher risk of getting sick over time. Um, so we can play it either way, but when you get your blood work back and you have high LDL, the first thing you should do is ask yourself, okay, am I setting my body up for everything that it needs to function and to operate? Because your body knows what to do. You don't have to wake up and tell your pancreas to start making insulin. You don't have to tell your brain to start thinking. You don't have to tell your hands to, you know, flush the toilet after you go to the bathroom. It's just your body's already going to do these things. So you simply have to feed it. You have to fuel the fire. That's all you have to do. Once it's burning, it'll burn itself. All you have to do is put the wood in, you know. And that's my concern. If you have high cholesterol, I would say definitely keep an eye on it. You want to know where you're at, but don't just sit there and think, okay, I need to go on a medication to lower this right away because I'm going to, my heart's going to fall out of my butt and I'll die, because that's kind of how we think about it. And so I think absolutely be conscious of what these numbers are saying, but look at the research. And more importantly, even if you don't look at the research, eat real food. Even if it's not keto, even if it's not carnivore, although I definitely lean in that way, but eat real food. And I think naturally a lot of your problems are going to go away if you eat a real, proper human diet, which consists of lots of animal products, lots of saturated fat, and very low, preferably no ultra processed refined carbohydrates. Because yeah, if you're worried about cholesterol, go and eat a bag of Takis. They have zero cholesterol in it.
Right.
Doritos, all of these garbage foods have absolutely no cholesterol in it. So go eat those. And it's like nobody's going to do that, because that that affects your gut lining. It affects your, it can give you leaky gut. It can give you all these other things, and it has food dyes and all these things that we know are horrible without question. So I don't understand still why we're so focused on LDL when I think there's a lot of other moving parts that are just going under the radar and
Yeah.
killing people point blank.
Right. I'd encourage people to, like, if you are nervous, do some more of the testing. So
Yes.
you can get the advanced lipid panel that'll show you your particle size,
Hmm.
and you can do what I recently did. You can go get a CAC scan. It cost me $50 out of pocket, no insurance. I went into this place down the road. It took me 5 minutes after I went and filled out the paperwork. I was literally in and out of there in 5 minutes. And I had my CAC scan, which came back, Garrett, as a big fat 0. And
Big goose egg.
I was taking statins for 10 years in my 30s. I wish I would have just gotten more testing done. A $50 5-minute test could have prevented me from 10 years of statins, which gave me all sorts of horrible side effects. So it's
Yeah.
like, do the additional testing. Tell when your doctor sees and says, we got to put you on a statin, say, well, why didn't we do an advanced panel to look at the particle size? Why don't we do a CAC
Yeah.
score? Why don't we dig in a little bit deeper to some
Yeah.
of these
Or
metrics
ask
that
me what
actually
I'm
matter?
eating, even.
Yeah, yeah, right. Novel idea,
Yeah. Just the thought.
right? All right, so those are some good topics on cholesterol. Another thing we were going to chat about a little bit was you'd mentioned this earlier, and this is a big hot topic item right now, and that is these GLP-1s and Ozempic.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's it really just makes me sad. That's what it comes down to. Um, but when you look at all the, and I'm sure you've seen them, if anyone's watching TV, you're seeing these Ozempic commercials, you're seeing these, Eli Lilly, you're seeing all these pharmaceutical companies just pushing this medication called Ozempic, or there's other names for it, but the ultimate purpose of these drugs is to enhance GLP-1. This is called a glucagon like peptide. um, this is a satiety hormone. It's a hormone that is released in your intestines by the L cells, and it tells your body to slow digestion. And it's a natural function within the body. It's not just some chemical. And everyone wants Ozempic to lose weight, but guess what? Guess what? Three foods trigger a natural GLP-1 response. And this is according to statistical data: eggs, fish, avocados. The proteins and the fats in these studies tell the L cells to release this, and you feel full and you feel good, and you don't have to eat for 6 to 8 hours. And there's studies showing that GLP-1 directly sets your brain up for success. It enhances neuroplasticity, which is essential for cognitive function, reduces neuroinflammation, protects blood vessels, and prevents amyloid plaque buildup, or this amyloid beta. This is the most inflammatory cytokine found in those with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And if you go right on their website, it's on Ancient Nutrition, it's a website, foods that naturally cause a GLP-1 response: lean meats, protein, fat, eggs. If you Google it, what food naturally does this, the first food that is going to show up is eggs.
Hmm.
So we're just skipping all of that and we're going, well, let's just give a medication. And now we're seeing all of these side effects. I'm seeing online that people are losing their vision, that they're getting tooth decay, that they're having all of these like neurological issues. And I'm going, this is not okay, and we're just thinking this as if it's okay. And my sister and I would always make the jokes because we'd watch all these medication companies, and in the background it's this cute couple, they're out at a fair, they're having a great time, and in the back it's talking about the side effects, and it's like internal bleeding, violent seizures, instant death, all of these horrible side effects that come with just putting these synthetic chemicals and these medications in your body, when you can simply just take a natural route to try and better yourself. And so that's just what gets my goat. It's like a lawnmower at 6 a.m. It just bugs the hell out of me. I cannot stand when I see that. And I would prefer, because it's right there, and that's the worst part. It's right there. The data is all there.
Hmm.
Eggs, lean protein, high fat, even pork. If whether you eat pork or not is up to you, but there's no animal food that you can eat that won't better your health. But we're just skipping that, and we're going to medication because ultimately it makes them more money. And so that I think is a very big hot button issue, because it's everybody wants it. But if you eat fish, chicken, lean meats, eggs, high protein, these naturally it increases this satiety hormone naturally. All you have to do is eat the food. It's that easy. Go to the store, buy eggs. It's probably cheaper than getting medication through your insurance and paying out the wazoo for it.
Right, and having to inject yourself over and over again. I
Exactly.
I love what you said there about the word natural, because that's really what it is. We've
Yeah.
escaped from what is natural for humans, and then we get sick. I think part of the problem is everything is framed from like being fat, being obese. So now I'm going to take
Yeah.
this medication. One thing I've realized doing this for a while, Garrett, is people are overweight as a side effect of poor metabolic health. In other words, they're
Yes.
sick. Their body's metabolically sick, and then they get fat because of it. The
Yeah.
part of the reason that they're sick is because they're malnourished. They're putting the wrong nutrients in their body. They're not eating the eggs that would satiate them and the meat that would
Yeah.
satiate them. They're eating junk food. And so this Ozempic allows them, let's just allow them to continue eating the wrong foods, but at a lesser extent at the
Yeah.
cost of losing bone density and eating away at muscle and other things. The other thing I'll say real quick for anyone considering this is one thing that I figured this out a while ago. I don't know if I figured it out, but I did this big thought experiment. But I had loved ones, Garrett, that were on fen-phen. This was a big drug
Yeah.
diet back in the 90s. And it was
Yep.
the craze, just like Ozempic is now. Everyone was
Yeah.
talking about it, everyone was doing it. Well, it
Yeah.
turns out that it caused death and
Hmm.
major heart valve problems, many of which weren't
Yeah.
noticeable for 20 years later. And so I started thinking about this more, and I'm like, I started doing research, and I'm like, there have been countless weight loss medications
Yeah.
throughout the years. Not one weight loss medication in the history of mankind has been both safe and effective. And
Yes.
you can prove it like through common sense. If any of those were safe and effective, like fen-phen, we wouldn't need GLP-1s. We wouldn't even be talking about them right now because people would be doing fen-phen from the 90s and succeeding on it. There's none of
Yeah.
them. And some of these, like fen-phen, it's 20 years later that people are dying or having heart valve issues that are traced back to that medication because
Yeah.
it's so simple. Newsflash, it's like you can't outsmart Mother Nature. We keep trying over and over again. Like, let's take a shortcut and see if we can figure out a way to do the wrong thing and not treat the root cause. And it's
Yeah.
never worked. It's heartbreaking because there's people that are struggling and suffering, and they see this as the only way out, and they're so addicted. But there's hope. It's not the only
Yeah.
way out. I promise you.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I think too that naturally, right, we are just, I think most people are concerned about their health. I think whether you're vegan, whether you are just on the standard American diet and not really monitoring what you eat, everyone to an extent wants to live a long, happy life. They want to be healthy. But when it comes to, where the rubber meets the road, it's nobody wants to do it. And it's because we have fallen for this trap. There's all of these studies showing how food companies and big food and big pharma literally in their commercials target children. They make all these bright colors, they make all these fun scenes and activities, and they throw sugar in your face. And there's studies showing how they target Black communities. There's studies showing how they target children. There's studies showing how they target young college students and people who are on the go. We're just too busy to sit down and make a heart healthy meal all the time. And this is, it's kind of a, I guess you could say, a brainwashing method. And it's out there in front of us, and it's on the TV, and it's, your kids are seeing it, everybody's seeing it, it's on billboards. I've seen 100,000 McDonald's billboards, but not once have I seen a billboard asking if you're metabolically healthy. And I think that says it all right there. And there's studies too where, and people don't even know the damage of what's called glycation, right? People who are insulin resistant, people who are metabolically ill, are automatically at elevated risk for glycation, and this is the binding of glucose or sugar to proteins and fats. And this is called glycation, and this actually changes the LDL properties. The first thing that goes when glycation is in effect, whether it's advanced, whether it's just, kind of minuscule, it's still happening. It messes with the LDL's receptors, leading to prolonged circulation of this small, dense LDL, which is also present in these people, in the bloodstream. And this leads to more atherogenic properties. And there's these things called macrophages. They're white blood cells, and they take this glycated LDL because they realize that it's harmful. It's more susceptible to oxidation, and it stays in the bloodstream longer. And they this leads to foam cells. These are very atherogenic. And this is a natural reaction of your body trying to stop what is in your body from staying in your body. So it grabs it and it holds onto it. And it shows that this particle, this LDL, is more susceptible to embedding into your arterial walls than large buoyant LDL. And all of these studies that I have seen show hand in hand, without a doubt, large buoyant LDL, when insulin resistance is not present, is not a concern for atherosclerosis, or doesn't have any atherogenic properties in it. And so I also think a very natural conclusion is, well, what did people eat a couple hundred years ago? Because there wasn't Walmart, there weren't Tops or Aldi's or Kroger's or all of these food markets. They went out and found what they were going to eat, right? You ate meat, and you maybe ate veggies when you could, and you maybe ate some fruit when it was in season. But you're eating meat. Humans are designed to eat meat, and this is optimal, right? Because there's the difference between optimal and tolerable, right? I can tolerate stubbing my toe. I can tolerate, you know, we've all done it. You're fumbling around in the dark and you kick the corner because you think you're further over than you are. You can tolerate pain. You can tolerate all these things, but it doesn't mean it's good for you, right? And like the human body can tolerate insulin resistance. There's many people who are probably just going to live into their 70s, have all these chronic diseases for most of their lives, never address it, and they'll probably be fine. Now, that doesn't mean it's optimal, right? We're not going for we're not just trying to get by. We're trying to do what's optimal. And so your body can absolutely tolerate type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, but it's going to have an effect on your body without a doubt. So we need to go for what's optimal and what sets us up for absolute success. And that is truly, I believe, the proper human diet, which is, I believe, to be carnivore.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Another topic I was hoping to touch on is plant-based agenda. I
Yeah.
get one thing I get all the time, Garrett, is Carrie, this is great. You've had incredible healing on carnivore, down 100 pounds, reverse congestive heart failure, off all your medication.
Hmm.
But you would have done the same thing if you just got rid of the junk food and just ate plants.
Yeah. Yeah. All of the studies that we have, that I know of and that I've seen and that I've looked at, most of them are done where they take these two groups, right? They take vegans or vegetarians, so people who are eating, very high amounts of leafy greens, or just of the standard vegetarian vegan diet, if you will, and they compare it to non-vegan or non-vegetarians, and they just call them omnivores, or they call them something else, but they don't track what they're eating. They only track what the vegans and vegetarians are eating, and they compare it to people who are most likely, and in studies show that they're just simply not eating as many plants as these people. So you have the vegans and the vegetarians coming out on top in all these studies because when you compare it to the standard American diet, absolutely it's going to look better. And I don't hate, I'm not anti-vegan or anti-vegetarian for the reasons you think. I think in a scientific way they are absolutely lacking a lot of natural vitamins. Vegans and vegetarians without supplementation cannot at all get adequate nutrient supply of any of the B vitamins, vitamin B12. Like, there are a lot of vegans and vegetarians who are supplementing because they can't naturally get it in their diet. I would argue if you can't get it naturally, then you probably should change what you're doing. But more importantly, it it looks better. And if you're going to do a plant-based diet, I do applaud you because they're at least, I think, being intentional about what they're eating, right? And I think that's a good first step. I don't at all shame or hate people who are doing these diets because they're actually thinking about what they're eating. But I think they also are, they fall victim to the trap that many of us fall for, and that is, oh, well, meat raises cholesterol, stay away from meat. And there's 100 different reasons. I think veganism and vegetarianism are very much backed by political ideologies, religious ideologies, and social reasons. And I don't think that's a good reason to eat or to not eat something. But you have all of these people who are still dying of cardiovascular disease. Studies show that the leading cause of death among vegans and vegetarians is cardiovascular disease. That has not changed at all. People think that that just goes away, and it does not at all. They are at an increased risk, or they have the same amount of risk of dying of cardiovascular disease does than the people who are eating the standard American diet. And so I think nobody's talking about that. Nobody's bringing that part up. And they are more susceptible to a certain kind of stroke because of low LDL. LDL is essential for brain function. I learned this in basic psychology and biology. It's, you have the neuron, and on this axon you have what's called myelin, the myelin sheath. And if this gets attacked, if this breaks down, if this has any issues, this is what leads to multiple sclerosis. This is what can lead to damaged neurons and nerves, and this can lead to cognitive developmental issues, or just dysfunction within the brain. And what are these myelin sheets made of? Well, they're comprised of 70% or more of cholesterol and fat. Your brain needs fat. Your body needs fat and cholesterol. So why in the world are we telling people to stop having it? And more importantly, why are we giving people medication that directly inhibits and affects your body's ability to create and synthesize and utilize cholesterol like it needs to? Your body needs cholesterol. If you have no cholesterol, you die. There's no debate about that. And so I just have an issue with the vegan and vegetarian diet when it comes specifically to attacking LDL, because they are still at an increased risk of cardiovascular disease and having certain kinds of strokes, and they miss a lot of nutrients that they need. And in the studies, it shows that if you have high carbohydrate intake and high sugar intake, you are metabolically going to alter your cholesterol, and you're going to increase triglycerides and lower HDL. And that is not good. That puts you at risk for metabolic syndrome, and that puts you at risk for all of these other things. And it kind of just cascades. And so I do not personally believe that the plant based diet or that this plant based agenda is beneficial at all. And there's studies showing that people who are eating vegetarian diets and vegan diets have similar blood panels and lipids to those who are metabolically ill and inflamed. And it's not because they aren't trying, it's not because they, aren't focusing on what they're eating, but it's because it doesn't matter how you feel about it. It's, what does it do to your body? What does it do to your body? And that's what we see. And in these studies, they call it diabetic dyslipidemia, or they call it atherogenic lipidemia. And guess what that consists of? Elevated triglycerides, low HDL, and elevated small dense LDL. And those are all shared common factors in metabolic syndrome. So if you're diabetic, insulin resistant, or have high carb and high sugar intake diet, it puts you at risk for what's called diabetic dyslipidemia or atherogenic lipidemia. And that's not good. You want to avoid that. And I believe that, again, that is going towards a high fat diet, because all these studies show that that changes everything. And even the anecdotal evidence, even like yours, according to studies and according to big pharma, you should have been dead years ago. Your heart should have stopped working the minute you even looked at red meat. But it's not. We have the opposite happening, and they're just ignoring that. And Ken Berry said it in a video, but why are they not hunting down carnivores and paying them to be a part of these studies? they're sitting here from their, ivory tower saying, "Oh, it's so bad for you." Okay, come and follow us around for 10 years. See how we do. I guarantee you something's going to change, because I don't understand why they're not trying to look into this and thoroughly vet it the way that we are thoroughly vetting what they're saying and finding it to be rather bogus.
So you got some really good points, things I didn't think about before. Like, so many people starting carnivore, they're terrified of heart disease. Okay,
Yeah.
here's the alternative: be plant-based vegetarian. Look at the outcomes for them, like you said.
Yeah.
Why aren't they not having heart attacks? It's not only that with like plant-based folks. I remember seeing this a while ago. I think like India is pretty much
Yes.
all vegetarians, and their
Oh, I've
rates
got
of you got some on that. I was just gonna
oh,
say,
absolutely I do. I've got stuff on everything. I've
I don't know about them and heart disease, but what I saw was their
Yeah.
rates of fertility issues, depression, anxiety, all of that, which is all tied to the hormones. It's it's crazy in India, and they're just eating plants. Well, it makes sense
Yeah.
because they're not getting the fat that their brains need and their hormones need.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually have studies on that. The lowest levels of LDL found within India is in Jharkhand. Their leading cause of death is, guess what? Cardiovascular disease, and they have the lowest LDL levels. Rajasthan, India, 75% of the population is vegetarian. And these are for religious reasons. These are for several reasons that are documented, that are well known. 75% of the population is vegetarian and have normal LDL levels. There was about 15% of them that had mediocre levels that were kind of borderline elevated. But 75% of them had normal LDL levels and were following a vegetarian diet. Their leading cause of death, cardiovascular disease.
Hmm.
And we can even go on the other side. We can look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong is one of the highest meat consuming nations. And Hong Kong eats the most meat in the world. And Hong Kong has high levels of LDL, but Hong Kong also lives a very long life. If you look at who lives the longest, who has the longest lifespan, it's Hong Kong's going to be there. And their leading cause of death is not cardiovascular disease. That's third. And I think that's worth noting. I think that that says something. So if we're just looking at, if we're following point A and point B and looking at correlation, then we'll be here all day, because that's not enough to determine what's actually causing these things. Because you have people with low LDL who are vegetarian who are all dying of cardiovascular disease. And then you have people in Hong Kong who live a very long life, longer than the US average, longer than many places is average. And they have high LDL levels or elevated LDL levels, and their cardiovascular disease is the third leading cause of death in their nation. And so I think that's, yeah, like you had mentioned, it doesn't take away the risk, and it's because that's not the problem. And I don't know why it's still being, I don't know why it's on the front horse in the war still, that LDL is just this totally bad thing, because there's several studies that show otherwise if people would simply just look. And I think, there's a lot of unethical reasons why it's being avoided or why it's not being talked about.
Do you feel like there's ever, you mentioned Dr. Barry, I'm
Yeah.
on board with that, man. If they could do a carnivore study, like
Yeah.
carnivore versus vegan, carnivore versus standard American diet, whatever, but have you seen anything in that regard, or are there any plans for anything that you're aware of?
It's tricky, because I've seen studies, and usually they're done by, not done by, but I one was brought to my attention by Ken Berry, and it was in this group of people called the lean mass hyper responders, right? And I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen a lot about that, but it's these people who have their lean mass and they're hyper responders, and they have very high elevated levels of LDL and ApoB. And this study that he did, he actually has a YouTube video on it, shows they followed these people around who were doing a ketogenic diet, and it was very well planned and it's very well mapped out, showing that these people are genuinely following a ketogenic diet. They're being tested weekly for their level of ketosis to make sure that they aren't cheating and messing up the data. And at the end of it, it found that elevated LDL and elevated ApoB levels were not causative of plaque buildup in arterial walls. And no, but nobody's talking about that study. But then you have all these correlation studies saying that, oh, well, people have high LDL and then some point later they have a heart attack. So LDL is causing the heart attacks. That's essentially what all of these studies are saying. And according to the NHANES and the CDC, cholesterol levels have only come down from 1999 up until 2018 and up until recent studies show that we have gradually declined with our total levels of LDL. Yet cardiovascular disease, coronary artery disease, stroke, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, obesity, all of these have only gone up. So you have the downward trend of cholesterol and you have the upward trend of everything else, and they're still having cardiovascular disease. And there's studies showing that, like I mentioned earlier, 75% of people who report having a heart attack or a cardiovascular episode have ideal cholesterol levels. And in the study, instead of them saying, okay, maybe let's look at something else, they say this. They say, we believe that the number is not low enough, and they keep pushing the number low enough, and then they go, this number cannot be reached naturally, therefore we're going to need a pharmacological invention or intervention for these people. So essentially the study is saying, well, we know you had a heart attack but your LDL is still too high, let's give you this drug because you're never going to get there yourself. I believe that is such a poorly structured way of looking at people and their health, because you have people who are genuine. Imagine that you've been told your whole life that you have good LDL levels, you have nothing to worry about, and then you have a heart attack. You know how disheartening literally that has to be? And so
Right.
automatically I go, okay, I wonder what these people are thinking, because I guarantee a thought that crosses their mind is, wow, I was doing everything they said and it didn't work. At what point do you go, okay, I maybe it's not what they're saying it is, maybe it's something else? At what point do you naturally think that? And I think that's where a lot of people need to get to, but I think they get there once it's too late. And I think they just blindly follow orders. And I think it's because we teach people to do so, from a very young age. We teach people to do that.
Yeah, that's one of the toughest things with all of this cholesterol LDL. It's just like this social norm. It's ingrained in everyone's brain. It's almost like a religion or something. It's so
Yeah.
hard to get people to think about it differently despite all of the evidence and all of the
Yeah.
other markers and things we could look at. It's still just the default. I see I'm on so many groups and I just
Yeah.
saw it again.
Same.
There's people on there like, I've been carnivore for 90 days. This is my LDL. And they're like, I can't believe this. I'm going to quit. What's going on? It's like, what do you, first of all,
Yeah.
there's so many things wrong with that because you're only a little bit into
Yeah.
carnivore and haven't given enough time. But besides all
Yeah.
of that, it's just so many other things we could be looking at.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, and even with, and you don't always have to be like obese or super, like I was very extreme. I was in the 99th percentile most of my life growing up, and that's not everybody's situation. You can have like we've all had that friend. I know I have several of them who they're very skinny, they appear healthy on the outside and they can eat whatever they want, and it appears so that they're just fine, that they're presumably okay, right? They don't have these major risk factors, they're not obese or all of this, but that doesn't mean anything really in these studies. It's showing that that doesn't mean anything. And the same thing with diabetics, right? We have diabetics and all we do is give them insulin, and we say, okay, you're on this now for the rest of your life and we're just going to manage your glycemic intake, and we're going to just make sure that you're in the sweet spot. There's no natural movement to say, okay, this is a serious problem, let's reverse this as fast as we can and do what we can to get this fixed. Diabetes was the eighth leading cause of death in the US in 2022. What kills type 2 diabetics? What is the number one cause of death in diabetics? It's cardiovascular disease.
Hmm.
Studies show that over 75% of type 2 diabetics die of cardiovascular disease. So diabetes is down here at number 8, while cardiovascular is up here at 1. But diabetes, 75% and more people who have type 2 diabetes die of cardiovascular disease. And
Wow.
same with relatively healthy people. You have skinny, healthy people who are in their mid 50s, mid 60s are having heart attacks. Whether it's optimal LDL levels or not, they're having heart attacks. And that's the issue. I don't know how much longer they'll be able to sit there and say, well, it's still your LDL, it's still your LDL. When will people, I want to be somebody in the world speaking light on that, saying, forget everything just for a minute and just look at what's in front of you. Eat real food, eat when you're hungry, stop eating when you're full, drink water, stay away from smoking, stay away from drinking, stop being on your phone for 9 hours a day, move your body, get outside, be healthy. I guarantee you we would probably not have as many health issues as we have today if we simply did that and promoted that. But we don't. We just simply don't.
Right. Yeah, the incentives are all wrong. They're all
Yeah.
wrong. And like you were saying earlier with the marketing towards children is it's
Yeah.
criminal. It's crazy to me. I think 20 years down the road, we're gonna look back and be like, what were we doing? Getting kids hooked, getting them addicted.
Yeah.
It's so bad too because like as we progress, this is the next generation. Like you're much younger than me, but um, I got so unhealthy and I didn't even eat that bad. This next generation that's coming out now, it's way worse.
Yeah.
More
Oh, they have
chemicals.
all of it. We have uh, I saw a study showing that kids as young as 10 and 12 are chronic vapors now.
Oh my
We
goodness.
have vaping, we have talkies, we have all of these things that are being promoted and glamorized within our culture. I will put money on it that our generation in 30 years are going to drop dead from all of these issues. There's even it made the news. There was a 14-year-old girl who presented to the hospital with severe chest pain and she was blue. She had her entire lung collapse because she was vaping so much.
Wow.
And she sat there and her answer was, I thought it wasn't that bad. And that's so sad that people are doing this and their thinking is it's not that bad. But
Right.
it is that bad. And it's not going to kill you right away. It's quite literally the analogy of if you have one cigarette, that is not going to kill you. If I smoke a cigarette right now, that is not going to kill me. But if I smoke one every day for 15 years, now we're going to see some issues arise, and
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. We're indulging in these things that are just harmful enough to where it's going to hurt you in the long run, but not harmful enough to where immediately you don't feel anything from it, and then we just think we're fine.
Right. Yeah, and then people do it for years and years, and it becomes the new normal that they're feeling like absolute garbage, just shadow of the human being they could, and that becomes kind of their new normal as they go through life. I
Yeah.
I'm with you on what you said earlier too. I think it's going to come down hard where we're going to see like it's so sad to think about, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
30-year-old kids, like there's kids walking around right now with fatty livers. It's crazy.
Yes.
Pre-diabetic with fatty livers, teenagers with a horrible depression. Yeah, some of the stuff I talk about,
Hmm.
people like, "Oh, you're exaggerating." I'm like, "Really?" Like, look around, kids with
Yeah.
fatty livers,
Yeah.
and
Go into a Walmart and just look at all the children in there and just count how many of them look bigger than they should be,
right.
you know?
And then
And
imagine them
it's
5 years from now, 10 years from now, what's going to happen?
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's criminal. It's hopefully hopefully we can get the word out and change it. The thing that drives me nuts with all of this is the fact that there's people out there that are hopeless and sick. It's not because they're choosing to. For the most part, many of them are just completely oblivious. Like I never would have
Yeah.
imagined my depression, anxiety. That's food I'm putting in my mouth. No, that's a chemical imbalance. That's genetics.
Yeah.
That's a fluke.
Yep.
That's the thing
Nothing
that
you can do about it.
that's what they do with diabetics too. You get diagnosed with
Yeah.
type 2 diabetes, and most of the people leaving with that diagnosis believe it's just me. There's something weird about my genetics, or there's something
Yeah.
weird how I handle carbohydrates. And it's like, no, it's just 3 weeks carnivore diet, and you'll start reversing those things and noticing them immediately. I've heard it over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's upsetting nonetheless, and I don't think it's sometimes discouraging for me because I see a lot of people who are young and my age. I'm only 21, and I talk about this with my wife all the time, but I don't know a single person my age who is really this in this. Not to toot my own horn, but there's not a lot of people who are this well versed in these subjects, and they don't know. They just don't know, and they don't care to know. And I it just blows my mind because I worked with this one guy, and he found out that I did carnivore, and he knew that I was eating. He was like, "What do you eat for breakfast?" And I was like, "Well, I'll have like, you know, 5 or 6 eggs, however many I feel like, and then like a pound of ground beef with salt." And he's like, "That's all?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll eat that, and then like maybe, later at night, like 6 or 7 p.m. after the whole day, like I'll have a pound of bacon or whatever feels good in the moment." And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "you're gonna die." This dude brings 2 Red Bulls to work every day, vapes, eats ultra processed food all the time. I watch him do it, but I'm the one who has to watch what I'm doing because it's just so horrendous to eat meat, to eat anything that resembles any amount of cholesterol.
It's crazy. It's so
Yeah,
backwards. Well, it shows you that the incentives and the powers to be are really good at their jobs. I've said this before. It's like if you want to make literally probably trillions of dollars selling processed food and
yeah,
junk food and garbage, You get kids hooked early from a young age with cartoon characters on the
Mhm.
cereal boxes and ads, and you demonize meat. Like if you demonize meat, what are people going to do? They're going to go have a salad
Yeah.
for 3 days, and then they're going to be
Mhm.
starving to death, and then they're eating the junk food and the Red Bulls and the processed junk along with it.
Yeah, and that was my issue when I was going to my, dietitian and I was being seen by my primary, it was I went to a cooking class on how to cook. It was called, Cook Health, and we made spaghetti, and it was like, okay, sure, spaghetti tastes amazing, but I ate that. By the time I got to the car to leave, I was hungry again.
Yeah,
And they're telling me to eat, yeah, they're saying eat a salad, have these grains, have all this. And by the way, grains is I that's a whole other topic, but grains are so glorified and they're not all that special really. But when you take this diet that they were giving me and you really break it down, it was all sugar and carbs. And what many people don't realize, the body needs 13 essential vitamins to function. Guess what group of foods has the most of those, if not all? Eggs contain 12 of the 13 essential nutrients. Beef, liver, ground beef contain every single vitamin, essential vitamin and nutrient that your body needs. People don't know that.
right,
They'd rather have a bagel that has all this enriched flour and all of these seed oils and all of these 18 ingredients. They'd rather have that. They'd rather have their morning coffee with, if you want to drink coffee, that's fine, but drink it black and try to find a good clean brand. But we eat everything but what we should be eating, and I don't understand it. Eggs are literally the most bioavailable food that a human can eat, and they contain 12 of the 13 essential vitamins that your body needs to function. So why are we not eating it is just my question. And they look at the cholesterol and they worry. But it's if your body is in check, if you're not insulin resistant, I don't know how many times I can say it because this is ultimately what all of these studies have boiled down to. If
right,
you're not insulin resistant, if you don't have metabolic syndrome, if you don't have all of these inflammatory markers that are caused by all of this ultra processed stuff that you're doing, you don't have to worry about LDL. And I don't understand why we're just so focused on that. I don't understand it. And it genuinely just upsets me, I think, because as somebody who is young, as somebody who is fat or was fat, who was very obese and had all these issues, it they didn't look at that. They didn't talk about that. Not once was I talked to about my fasting insulin. Not once was I talked to about my hemoglobin A1C. They had told me it was high, but that was to the extent of which I knew. And they never brought that to my attention. It was always, always, always your LDL. And I was going somewhere with that and I kind of spaced, but I think that says a lot.
right. Well, I think I've got a lot of new people that come on, and I try to think back to when I was new and I didn't understand this. I think if I digest everything you're telling us, some of the big things, everyone's worried about their cholesterol.
Hmm.
They probably should be more worried first about insulin resistance, inflammation, and their metabolic health. And if they don't
Yes.
understand what those things are, do some more research and get those things in
Yeah.
check. And if you're going to worry about your cholesterol, do the
Hmm.
proper testing to test the proper things that matter, even though there's a
Yes.
lot of other things like having no inflammation and fixing your insulin resistance, which is much more indicative and
Yeah.
important. Worry about those things first. But if you're going to worry about cholesterol, at least test the right things. Get an advanced
Yeah.
lipid panel, do a CAC scan, dig into it deeper, kind of thing.
And I would say to a new person as well, I another analogy that I kind of made for myself was think of a chair, right? A chair is designed to be sat on. That's its only intent. It's designed for you to sit in it. It's supposed to hold your weight. It's supposed to prop your arms up. It's supposed to keep your back straight. If you break the leg on a chair, you cannot sit on it anymore. Despite that, that's what it was for. If something is broken within any part of a chair, that directly affects your ability to sit on it. So that's how we need to look at metabolic health. Your metabolic health, everything that was within your daily life that you're eating, Okay, think about it in the form of a chair. Your body is this chair, and it naturally is designed to do certain things. But if you break the leg, such as getting metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, obesity, inflammation, oxidative stress, all of these things that we have been seeing that are very prevalent in almost virtually everybody, um, it, if you really avoid those things, your chair will be just fine and you can sit on it. But if it's broken, it doesn't matter how good the chair was made initially. It doesn't matter if it was the best chair in the world. If it's got a broken leg, you cannot sit on it. And so once you fix the chair, you can sit on it. And then once you're metabolically healthy, I totally believe through the studies I've been seeing, in a heart of honesty, I don't think you have to worry about LDL. But do you have to worry about LDL when you have all these other things? Yes, because your body is inflamed and it's hurting and it's trying to repair. Inflammation is a sign that your body is not liking what it is and it's trying to fix it.
Right.
But in the attempts and efforts to rebuild, you first have to get rid of all of the rummage, right? And think about a building being destroyed, right? It crumbles to the ground, it falls. Before you rebuild, you have to get rid of all of it. You have to totally start from the ground up. And so, to any new people, I say just go for it. And really, the best experience you're going to have is your own, right? Doesn't matter what studies say at the end of the day to a certain extent, because I totally believe that the human body is great at telling you what it needs. And if you feel amazing, you feel well, and there's no repercussions, and you're not having inflammation, and you're not having these bad blood work reports, that's a good sign. And so what if your LDL goes up a little bit? If all of these other things seem to be fixing, if your HDL goes up, which we know is good, if your triglycerides go down, which we know is good, if your fasting insulin goes down, which is good, and your fasting glucose goes down, which is good, and your LDL goes up, you should just naturally follow that order. Okay, well, if LDL goes up, then that must be good because everything else is fixing and it's going in the direction that it supposedly is supposed to go in. Your body's going to know what to do. And I'm a firm believer in that. When you look at the body and it's everything and you break it down, it's very it's a well thought system. There's nothing like it. And so I think totally your body knows what to do. You just need to fuel it.
I love it. Hey, one last quick analogy because I love analogies. I can't remember who I heard this
Same.
from, but they were saying, imagine in the United States last year there were thousands of house fires. Now,
Hmm.
if you looked at that in a spreadsheet and you were just looking at the data because you're kind of a geek and you like looking at the data, you would notice that in every instance of those house fires, firemen
Hmm.
showed up. So if you were looking at that data, you could wrongly come to the conclusion that firemen cause fires because every time there was a fire,
Yeah.
firemen showed up. And that's kind of what happens with cholesterol. We damage
Yeah.
our blood vessels with inflammation, insulin resistance. We're eating the wrong foods. The cholesterol is going there to try to repair it, and it's getting the blame in many
Yeah.
cases. So um, maybe that's a good analogy to sort of end things on. I like that one. Uh,
Yeah.
Garrett, you're awesome, man. This has been incredible. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you if they want to follow you or learn more?
Yeah, so after last video, which if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend you do. I know you said you'll leave a link to it, but I did make a YouTube channel. It's called Red Fueled, and I'll give it to him, and he can link it in the description. I only have one video up right now, and it's not the greatest. Carrie, I need to borrow your playbook, man. I don't know how you make all those fancy edits and all that, but I love watching them and keeps me hooked the whole time. And then I watched mine, and I went, well, that's kind of boring. So I'll definitely try to get better and improve on quality of videos. But yeah, I've got a couple of YouTube shorts. I've got one video just on a cheap carnivore kind of style budget. I have plans on doing more, and then I have a lot of stuff. Despite what I've already said, I have a lot of stuff that I didn't even go over or that we didn't even really delve into as much as I had just had available or prepared. So I think I'm going to do a YouTube video on all of these studies that I'm referencing so people can see, so they can do the research for themselves, because I'm not a medical professional. I'm not, this is all for entertainment. I cannot give medical advice, but I can read research and understand it. And so I have a lot of these things, and I will probably make a YouTube video just on all of the research that I've found. And I have a whole presentation put together. So I'll probably make that and put that up and give you guys all the resources that I have so that people can just hear the good news of carnivore and the proper human diet. So
I
yeah, you
love
can
it.
follow me on YouTube at Red Fueled.
Perfect. I'll have a link in the description, and I encourage you, do some videos on that. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of people talking about it, and it's something that's highly searched for.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even worry about like the editing and stuff, man. You're passionate about this stuff. You just
Well, thank you very much.
share the passion, share the work you're doing, the research, because it's definitely needed out there. So if you get a couple
Yeah.
videos out, let me know too. I'm happy to shout them out in social media and send some folks your way.
Well, thank you very much. I would very much appreciate that. I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Garrett. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Garrett, before we hang up, you're awesome. This was great. I'll probably get a couple videos out of this.
Yeah.
I usually do like just a real brief intro if you're
Mhm.
comfortable,
Yeah.
like 30 seconds. So for me, if it were me, I'd be like, uh, my name's Kerry. I've been doing carnivore 2 years now. I'm down over 100 pounds since my heaviest, overcame depression, got off all my meds. Now I'm really passionate about healing humanity. But for you, maybe it could be now it's changed my career. Now I'm really passionate about science and studies and
Yeah.
whatever you're comfortable with, but that'll kind of tie into the video.
Yeah.
If
So
you're
yeah, just
cool,
like yeah, no, I'd love to do that. I'll so just
it's
kind of like could you give me like a mock version of what it would be kind of like if you like how you want me to say it or how it
yeah,
should be said?
yeah. So for you, and it's still recording now. So I'm gonna edit it. I'll just take it from this and put it in there, and you can do it like a couple
Okay.
times if you want. But
Yeah.
just so it's super brief because it'll literally be like the first 30 seconds. So for you, it'd be, hi, my name is Garrett. I've been carnivore for X number of years, and I'm down 100 and how much was it?
157 pounds to
I'm
be
down
exact.
150. I hate doing the weight, but that's always what gets people's attention. I'm down
Yeah,
157 pounds, but I overcame all these other health issues, and now
yeah.
I'm really passionate about this way of living. Uh, Dug into a bunch of studies, and we're gonna. That's my story, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I might take one more than one try, but
Feel
I'll
free. Like this is the
okay.
yeah. I've had people do it like 5 times. I don't mind. Like I'd rather
Okay.
get the best one. So
All right, sounds good. Okay. Let me know. Are you ready?
yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me map it out. Okay. My name is Garrett Allen. I am 21 years old and I overcame buttloads of nope, restart. Okay. I know where I'm going now.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Garrett Allen. I'm 21 years old, and I overcame several health issues through healing humanity, through carnivore diet. When I was 16 years old, I had all these health issues. I was super obese, and I've lost over 150 pounds through this way of eating that is carnivore. And that is truly the way to be healthy, I believe.
Nice.
How was
That's
that?
awesome. That
You
was
want me to
good.
change anything? Okay.
No, that was perfect. Um, awesome. So I'm really far behind actually right now. So
Yeah.
the video will probably go live in like 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks.
Okay.
Like I said, I might get a couple.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'll
Yeah,
link
I
you.
watch all your video. I got notifications on, so I
Oh,
watch
nice.
whatever you post.
Tomorrow's the big day. You mentioned the man. I'm going on with Dr. Barry on his channel tomorrow at noon.
Oh man.
We're showing our trailer for the documentary um,
Yeah.
to the world. It's the world premiere of the trailer. Other than we showed it to some members, but it's
Yeah.
to the world with Doc. I've had Dr. Barry on my channel several times. Never been on his channel, so it's going to be pretty
Right.
awesome because, like you, he was a big part of my story.
Yeah.
I watched so many
Yeah,
Dr.
that'd
Barry
be
videos.
that's gotta be a dream come true to go on his channel.
It's crazy. Like we're going on with him, and then we're doing like a flurry. We're going on with there's in the trailer. There's 40 people.
Wow.
Real quick, just to show the
Yeah.
purpose of this trailer was to show the scale and scope. Like this isn't just 3 people that found healing; it's a whole bunch of people. But
Yeah. It's not just some nomadic group in the middle of the
yeah,
Utah.
and a lot of the people have their own YouTube channels. So like
Yeah.
Lee Copus, Kent Carnivore, we're going on with him. So we're doing Dr. Barry, and then we're doing like 10 others. It's going to be nuts, like live stream
Yeah.
after live stream after live stream. So um,
Yeah.
hopefully
That'll
it'll
be awesome.
get the word out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Throw my name out there.
Yeah, for sure. For
But
sure.
no, real quick, I know we're already behind, but how like what do you use like an AI software or how do you edit the videos with like I've kind of got the thumbnails down. I know you mentioned in your email, like get the thumbnail, like really just nail that because that's what gets people to look. But in terms of editing or like and how do you film off your phone or have a camera? Like I'm totally new to this and could use all the help because I
Yep.
definitely want to start a channel.
I use. Well, for this, I'm using StreamYard. For my regular
Yeah.
videos, I just use a camera and then I edit it in Final Cut Pro.
Mhm.
I use AI a bunch, but nothing for editing. All the editing is kind of done. You know, I do interviews like this. There's not a lot of editing other than with you. I might cut it up into 3 or 4 videos, but normally I just
Right.
I post a I'll take a teaser and put that in the front. The big thing is the thumbnail, like you just mentioned. The other big thing is the first 30 seconds. So I
Yeah.
usually edit that, like getting a really good hook in that
Yeah.
first 30 seconds. And I'll use AI for that also. If I could start over, one thing that I would do differently, unfortunately, there's a bit of a cost to it, but I don't think it's too expensive. I use a program now called Descript. It's
Descript.
Descript, and it transcribes everything. And there's a whole bunch of AI tools in it. So like I've got a guy that helps me with some of this, but like your video, like say we just did an hour, I can go into
Yeah.
the script after it's loaded in there and I can use the AI tool to give me like a whole bunch of shorts off of it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's hit or miss, but YouTube loves the shorts. They push them,
Yeah.
they
That's what I
promote.
noticed. I put one out and it got like 600 views and like I think like 40, 50 likes, which is a lot for me, but then on my YouTube video, I'm only at like maybe 20-ish views, a couple likes, but I know I haven't really done much yet. And I know that's the huge appeal, like, having flashy videos and good editing. So,
Right? Yeah, getting the good keywords in there too, like getting carnivore in the title, but some of the topics that we're talking about today are pretty popular. There's some tools in YouTube that I use a lot in YouTube Studio where you can see trends and it'll be like, "Hey, right now if you do carnivore for women." That one just came up
yeah.
the other day. It's like going crazy. Like there's a need and there's not a lot of videos for it. So I use that tool to come up with ideas sometimes. That really helps. But some of it is I think some of it is with YouTube, they give you more credit if you do more. Like once you get a
Yeah.
couple videos out there, you get on their radar, you do a couple of shorts and things like that, they'll end up
Yeah.
putting out in front of more people. But the biggest thing with YouTube is the engagement and getting people to watch
Yeah.
longer. So edit if you do a longer video like we just did, cutting it down is good, and then editing out any part where it's like, ah, that's a little boring or that's a little bit of a lull.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
kind of the big things. But in terms of AI, the last thing I'll say real quick is I use it a ton for preparation, like
Okay.
coming up with video ideas, titles. Okay, now how can I do that with a good hook? Like the whole
Yeah.
intro thing I just had you do, I didn't used to do that before, but it really helps because when people start watching the video, you gotta hook them in there right away. And if I don't have a custom intro from you, I gotta kind of make it up
Oh
from
yeah.
the other
Oh yeah.
party.
Even when you guys went up to Alaska and like in that video, the way the intro was and like I can't name them, but there's several that I've seen that just the way the camera pans or the cuts of the bits and pieces of like the highlights with like maybe that progressive like audio of like something's coming.
Yeah,
Like definitely I was like, man, I need to get like that.
you got to get a. I still suck at it. I'm getting better, but you got to have a really good hook, and then you
Yeah.
got to follow through on it,
It's
like
like writing
story
a good
code.
essay.
Yeah, and ChatGPT, as much as there's flaws with it, it's really good at that. Like, and the new version of ChatGPT remembers stuff. So I actually have a thing in
Yeah.
there where I'm like, listen, I'm thinking of doing a video on this. Tell me what do I need to capture in the first 5 seconds and the first 30 seconds to have a really strong hook that I
Yeah.
then deliver
Oh,
on
and it goes
later in the
off of
video.
what it already knows and kinda goes from there.
Yep, yeah. And
Very cool.
if you use that program to script I mentioned, it transcribes the whole video. So I can go into to our video that we did. It's not quite in there yet, but I can go in there and I
Yeah.
can copy and paste all that text. I can put the whole hour right into ChatGPT and be like, listen, I didn't get a really good hook. Find 5 good statements that Garrett mentioned that would be a good hook. And it'll like it's crazy how
That's
good it is.
crazy, yeah, I think that's so cool.
And then with Descript, you can actually edit. It's like imagine a Word doc. You can just move the words around and it edits it that way. You're actually editing with the text, which is crazy. So
Wow.
I can use ChatGPT and it'll be like, use this statement from Garrett, then this one, then this one. I just copy and paste them into order, and then I got the intro right there,
Yeah.
which is really powerful because you know, like we just did the interview and it was great. But in my brain, like I would have to like rewatch the whole thing and then pinpoint things so
Yeah, go through all the parts.
I can rely more on ChatGPT. You can even go on there and be like, was there any part that seemed like emotional? Like, how does even ChatGPT know, like, if someone started crying, but if there's like a lull for a while, and
Yeah,
it's really good at all of
like
that
that
stuff.
part where I spaced, I apologize for that, I worked a overnight shift, I've been up since
Oh, no worries.
8 PM last night, so
You nailed it, man. You were on a roll there. There's some
well,
good
thank
stuff.
you.
I think we'll get a couple good videos out of it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, and I definitely want to do more in the future if I get more, and would love to work with you on stuff. I mean, you're definitely, I think for me, you're definitely one of the most influential carnivore YouTubers and lifestyle. I think it's not even just the diet; it's your lifestyle and like how it looks in your wife's life and your daughters. Like, I love seeing it, and it's very inspiring. So, thank you for
Oh man, I appreciate
all
it.
that you
Thank you.
do, everything that you do and say, and how you live, and just share that with people. Like, I love that. I think it's the willingness you have to just get that out there and to show
Uh,
people.
I
So,
appreciate it. I'm kind of with you. Like this changed the trajectory of your life. It's the same for me.
yeah,
And just doing that first video I did was 30 days carnivore, man. I have had so many people where they're like, I watched that video and it saved my life. And I'm like, whoa, like
yeah,
what do I say to that? And then it's
I
hard.
know.
How do I not do more video? I get people every now and then, they're like, you should do more homesteading videos. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. I do a homesteading video, I get crickets.
Yeah,
I do a video on this, and someone's
yeah,
like, I was suicidally depressed and I'm off all my medication now. I'm like, whoa, like it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. You never would have thought you'd get that.
It's hard not to be passionate and keep doing it when you get
Yeah.
those stories over and over
I'm
again.
I'm gonna keep doing it whether I get 0 views or a million, but I just, I definitely want to get views just because I think it's, people need to know, and I think it'd be totally cool one day to do something. I mean, it's a stretch, but yeah, there's a lot of other carnivore people like the cardiologists or Philip Avadia and even Ken Berry. Man, what I'd give to, I think it'd be cool to do something with them one day if I get more, credentials and as I become a nurse and maybe do some more research. But it's definitely a goal I have and an aspiration. And I think I have a good leverage as well because I'm a young guy, and I think that stands out to a lot of people. I feel
Yes,
like that was a very big theme in the comments on that video was just that I was young and well spoken, and I've been told that before, but it definitely helped. It kind of helps validate what I think I'm good at and not good at, and I like
100%.
that people see that.
Young, you're well spoken, and you're practicing what you preach. Like your story is
Yeah,
incredible. Well,
yeah, I
that was
I
gonna be
live
my
it.
biggest advice. Like for your YouTube stuff, get some more
Hmm.
videos. Do some more videos when you can. Just whatever you're passionate about. The
Yeah,
studies is huge, but then my other advice for you, and this is really how my channel grew, is connect. And I'm happy to connect you with these guys too. Connect with some of these doctors. You would be
yeah,
shocked at how accessible they are. It's
yeah.
crazy. I literally emailed Dr. Chafee. He was the first
Really?
doctor I talked to, and he responded back. He's like, "Yeah, come on the channel." I'm like, "I'm just like this homesteading dude, but I found this crazy healing." I was like 60 days into carnivore then. I didn't even have my YouTube channel wasn't anywhere near where it is now.
Right.
But he was just
Dang,
like,
that'd be. I'll give it a shot. I've never been one to shy
"Dr.
away from
Kiltz,
opportunity.
Dr. Kiltz would have you on in a second. Dr. Baker, I've sent probably 15 people. I'm like, Dr. Baker, you should go on with Dr. Baker. Every single time I send him over to Dr. Baker, he's like, here's my calendar, pick a date, let's go. So, but
Yeah.
it's huge because they will link to your YouTube channel. YouTube will see that link and, well, you got a link from Dr. Baker. And
Hmm.
all of that are signals for YouTube. And then when you do
Yeah.
your next video after that, all of a sudden they're giving it more credit. It's going to rank it higher.
Yeah.
Plus, you'll pull some of that audience over. People will see with Dr. Kiltz or Dr. Baker, and they'll be like, I like this kid. I'm going to go follow him over there. And
Yeah.
that's the best way to really grow is do some partnerships like that.
Collaborate.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
Perfect. Well, thanks for the tips.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, have a great day.
Yeah, you as well.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
Bye.
take care.